All right, well, welcome back. So I was doing my monthly maintenance today, and if you'd like to see what that looks like, let me know in the comments down below, and maybe next month I'll videotape that. But what that basically entails is I look at every one of my plants, especially the orchids. I wipe down all of their leaves, I inspect them really well, and then make a decision on what needs to be done. And it got me to thinking that most of the store-bought Phalaenopsis that we get, these complex hybrids, really their growing season is coming up. So summertime is really their growing season. Their bloom time is in the fall and the winter, and you can force them into bloom early. So these two here do need to be repotted. This is my Morgan, the one I said is currently my favorite flower. Not just currently in my collection, but of all the flowers I've seen so far. And then of course we have Miss Sunshine, who is just keeps extending her spike. But I do want them to rebloom in the fall. I'm hoping to get a mass blooming of all of my phals. And of course, these guys have enough spots for another spike if they stay healthy. Usually they will spike between 3 leaves, so there's a potential for another spike here. However, if she doesn't put on any more vegetative growth, then I'll have to wait for her to bloom again. So to try to get a spike this fall, as much as I hate to do it, I am going to cut this flower spike. I'll stick it in the water with my Deja that the blooms have just totally filled in and perked back up. I'll put a picture at the end of the video or maybe post it here, just depends. And then of course we have the Morgan that I'm not going to cut the spike just yet. I will cut the spike though. I may do it during the repot, just put her in there as well. But they both have not been repotted since I purchased them. I watered them today in preparation. I said, well, they're good and soaked. These roots that are in here are nice and pliable, and so we'll go ahead and we'll repot them. They're both in pretty bad media. Looks like it's pretty broken down. So just to give you another idea, like this one here has put on this new leaf and is finishing off this new leaf, and I have the potential for one spike possibly in between this top leaf and this bottom leaf. But I want her to put on more vegetative growth. So, and how you know that they are going into their growing season is even if they're in bloom, if they start putting out new roots, new leaves, they are ready to start growing. And I thought while I did the repots, we would just kind of talk about summer care for Phalaenopsis. So you have your summer bloomers, you have your winter bloomers, and then you have your what they call photo length bloomers. That's a handful of orchids that when they grow in the wild, they grow more in the underbrush, and so they require extended light in order to bloom. There's just a handful, but most of your summer bloomers are fragrant, not all, but the majority. I do have an example of a summer bloomer. Obviously, she's not in bloom yet, she's still a baby, but this is my Phalaenopsis violacea crossed back to sibling. This is what they consider a summer bloomer. Your summer bloomers, their spikes are continuous bloomers, so these spikes you definitely would not want to cut off until they turn brown, because they'll keep extending and blooming and blooming and blooming, and then eventually that spike will dry and turn brown. That's when you cut that one off. A little bit different than our complex hybrids. Let me just move that out of the way real quick. And then also I have another summer bloomer here. This is my Phalaenopsis speciosa red. Again, she has nice leaves on her. She's got 3 that she came with. This one she was working on when I got her, so she finished that off in my care. But this largest leaf here is the one that has grown in my care. So we do have the potential for a spike, but I think she's going to need to grow a couple of more leaves before she gets mature enough for a spike. The nice thing about Phalaenopsis seedlings, as opposed to a lot of other orchid seedlings, is they do produce spikes a lot sooner than most of our hybrid seedlings or the more complex. So let me move these out of the way and we will get started here. Move that there. All right, so we're gonna start with Miss Sunshine, just because I just am very hesitant figure out where I'm going to put this baby girl here. Let me move these out of the way. So we'll just put her down there. Sorry for the creaky chair, guys. But so, like I said, we are going to cut our sunshine spike here, and I have had the Fisker soaking in some alcohol. So while we loosen le pot, we will get that drying out a little bit. And as you can tell, so I don't know if you can tell, but this leaf here, do you see how it's starting to lighten up? That's an older leaf. It's a seedling leaf. It's natural for them to lose leaves at the bottom. Generally, every year, every other year or so, they will lose some leaves at the bottom. Generally, it's 2, sometimes 3. If you're starting to lose leaves in the middle, you have a problem. And we are going to discuss that here in just a few moments. So to keep her, because she is healthy, I am going to initially cut the spike up a little bit higher than I normally would, just because I want to see what else is in the pot. If the roots in the pot are pretty good, then I'll go ahead and cut the spike all the way down. But if they're not, then I'll leave the rest of the spike for her to kind of absorb the nutrients. So let's just go ahead and cut the spike. Oh, I said I was going to cut it higher. Almost messed up. All right, we'll cut it right there and just take it out. And then I will lay that over here to the side. And then we will put her in water later. All right, put on my glove. Let me move my extra gloves out of the way. And let's see what we've got going on in the pot. And again, remember, always grab your Phalaenopsis from as close to the crown as you can when you are taking her out of the pot. All right, so. And you can tell this media is like really, really old because it's just fallen right out, right out. All right. Now, another thing you'll notice when you unpot a Phalaenopsis is sometimes some of the roots on the inside are kind of a yellowy brown look. That just means that it has not gotten any light for photosynthesis. Phalaenopsis use their roots as a secondary backup for photosynthesis. It's not the primary reason that we have the roots. That is more to give the orchid her nutrients and her moisture that she needs to survive. So let's just, and again, if you have a piece of bark that is kind of not wanting to come off, just gently hold the root and then just kind of wiggle it a little bit. And sometimes you can just take your nail and just kind of press on it and it'll just come right off. But you do want to be careful, and there are quite a bit of dead roots in here. And we have our peat moss seedling plug in here still. And it looks like it's just going to come right on off. The good news is not all of the roots in that are dead. That's good. So that came right on off. So now let's go ahead and let's get her cleaned up and see what roots we have left. She's got some viable ones, but a lot of these in here, like this one, is just all paper. All paper. So, all right, well, let's see what we got. All right, so I've done everything on this one that we are going to do. So there's kind of what we're left with right here. Not too bad, but not the greatest either. So I will just set her back in this pot here, and then we will go ahead and get our Morgan unpotted and see what is going on with that. Hold on, maybe. Let's just lean her here. This way I don't break any of the roots that are on there. All right, so let's see what we've got with Miss Morgan. And let's go ahead and soak our Fiskers again. And then I will get a fresh glove just in case. So from the outside, Morgan actually looks like her roots might be a little bit better. The other one, a lot of these desiccated ones, you could kind of see them in the pot. if you look, they look like brown paper, as opposed to, we'll just use this one that was cut off as well. But see how green that one looks, and then that's just those just look like brown paper, and if you just pull on that velamin, it just pulls it right on off. It's gone. All right, so let's see what surprises we have in here, guys. And she's in here pretty tight. This pot is pretty snug. So, and I made the decision just now, we are going to go ahead and we're going to cut this spike. Oh, I hate to do this. She's so pretty, but I would like to see it again. And for the health of the orchid, even though there's absolutely nothing wrong with this orchid at the moment, I don't want her to continue putting energy into this spike because, like I said, I do want to see the blooms again later this year. So in order to do that, I am going to go ahead and sacrifice that bloom. Now I've had it, let's see, I've seen her in bloom now for about a month, so that's good. All right, and again, grab from the base of your orchid and hold her and kind of pull while you're pouring. Oh, she is in here so tight. Oh my goodness. Let's see. There we go. All right. Again, this media is pretty broken down. Okay, well, we'll just leave that there. So, it doesn't smell too bad, but it's not smelling fresh either. It looks like her roots are actually in a lot better shape than the previous. Over here, Miss Sunshine. Bark is in here pretty snug. So, just get her from the bottom. And if you kind of put your hand down into the center, it's a lot easier to get that media to kind of just fall out. And of course we have our peat moss. Can you see it right there? Our peat moss plug in its little basket. I was hoping to be able to just leave her kind of curled up like this because that is kind of nice to put her back in a pot. But best laid plans of mice and men, and we don't always get what we wish for. So I will just continue getting this bark off of here, and then more than likely fast forward through this part because it's going to take them, and I am going to take my time. I'm not trying to damage any of these lovely roots she has here. All right, so let's see if we can do this without having to pop her out too much. Let's see, there, and can we come up through the center here and cut right there. There we go. And stuck right there. Like I said, I'm trying to get all of this out without unraveling these roots as best as I can because it's going to make it easier to get her in the pot. Of course, when I go to run her through the water, watch all these roots just open right up with all this careful precision that I'm trying to do here. As we all know, our orchids have a mind of their own. And does the other part of the pot come out? Yes. Okay, there it goes. All right, well, I am going to go and take both of these girls to the sink. We'll rinse them off, and then we'll come back, kind of see what we've got, decide what pot we're going to put them in, and obviously we're going to spray with some hydrogen peroxide. I got another one there, but with this one, there's not that much to clean up. Her root system is actually pretty good. There were just one or two little spots that need to be addressed, but other than that, she has a great root system. And as you can see, when I was telling you guys they're going into growth mode, so do you see those root tips? We've got one right here, we've got a root tip right here, and then she's got root tips here. Additionally, this was a root tip, so she is going into her growth mode. So to encourage that, I that's one of the reasons I'm going to repot her. One, to give her something fresh to grow in, and two, one of the reasons we cut the spike. All right, I will be right back, and then we will put these girls in their pot.